A fair warning to all, Sexmission is going to be a very divisive film if you do not understand the hidden message underneath. So before this comment section becomes a vicious battleground, please listen to the analysis of this video. This movie is not what you think it is. But first, the plot summary. In 1991, after successfully hibernating a monkey for half a year, Professor Victor Kupelwieser conducts a 3-year hibernation experiment with 2 volunteers. These men are Max and Albert. Albert, a biologist, believes that it is his duty to help humanity advance scientifically, while Max, who is married and a father to a daughter, is looking for adventure. The men wake up, having not aged a day. They are isolated and taken care of by beautiful women, particularly Lamia, whom Max fancies. The men ask for the professor only to be told that he does not exist. The experiment was a success except for one hiccup. The 2 men wake up in a post-nuclear, war-torn 2044 where men have long been extinct. Lamia informs them that women have figured out how to reproduce through parthenogenesis, a form of asexual reproduction. Max, seeing a world with only women as a paradise, tries to put the moves on Lamia. He kisses her, she incapacitates him, and threatens both men with euthanasia if it ever happens again. After a few days, the men are taken to Her Excellency, supreme ruler of all women. While there, they notice 2 apples on a tree and eat them, tired of the synthetic, flavorless food. It is revealed that Professor Kupelwieser invented the M-bomb during the war, a weapon supposed to paralyze male genes, but instead destroyed them permanently. Max and Albert volunteer to help restore the male population, something the women have no desire of letting happen. Her Excellency gestures to the apple tree, a sacred reminder of when man tempted woman, the moment that destroyed paradise. After realizing what the 2 men had done, she has them thrown back into their rooms and to never be let out. Max's kiss reignites Lamia's feelings of arousal. She seeks answers from the oldest woman in their community, Julia. Julia tells her about her fiancé and believes the old world should be restored, and says that if she were younger, she would do everything to save the 2 men. She also guesses that Lamia has fallen in love with one of the men. After a failed escape attempt that damages the electrical power grid, Max and Albert face a tribunal. The court decides to send the men to be naturalized. Right before they can be taken, they escape again. Deep in the caverns of the complex, they encounter a decadency, an anarchist group of hippie women who want nothing to do with the regime, play loud music, and engage in lesbian relations. The pursuing forces track down the men, resulting in a scuffle, giving them a chance to escape. Lamia finds Max and Albert and decides to show them what awaits them at the surface. Using a periscope, they see a desolate, radiated wasteland. Lamia's help turns out to be a trick. She calls the guards, and they are taken to be naturalized. She is then informed that care of the men would be given to a different science department. Naturalization is sexual reassignment surgery. The head surgeon turns out to be Max's daughter, who holds her father in contempt for leaving her and her mother for fame and money. Lamia sabotages the surgery and helps the men escape as revenge. Max and Albert change into protective suits, but are unable to leave due to the secret code word that releases the capsule to the surface, a password only Her Excellency knows. Enraged, Max swears, which turns out to be the password. In a last-minute decision, Lamia decides to escape too. While walking, Max runs into a fabric barrier. The entire desolate wasteland turns out to be a ruse. As the suits run out of oxygen, Max sees a stork, signaling breathable air. They come across a house filled with fresh food. Emma, a high-ranking League member, follows the group, holding them at harpoon point but faints due to a lack of oxygen. Once conscious, Emma tries to escape. During the grapple, they accidentally turn on the TV. The news says that Emma and Lamia are dead and Albert and Max have been naturalized. After a lengthy explanation of what mating is, and a bit of mating, Max and Albert enjoy a drink and a smoke. They hear an elevator. The house belongs to Her Excellency, who turns out to be a man who uses a necklace as a voice changer. He explains that when he was 4 years old, his mother hid him. Growing up a woman, he joined the League, eventually becoming ruler. He was too afraid of women to form a relationship with one, reveal himself, and restore the old world. The government has falsified the radiation level, making everyone easy to control. The women are also medicated to inhibit their sexual desires. The trio makes a deal. Her Excellency's true identity will not be revealed, and Max, Albert, Lamia, and Emma get to live in the house. Later, Max and Albert sneak into the incubation center disguised as workers, adding male gametes to flasks. The film ends with a nurse wrapping a baby in a blanket, horrified to see a penis. Okay, is everyone calm? Alright, well if you guess that this film is a critique of communism, then you are absolutely right. Allow me to explain for those who did not catch it. Sexmission, made in 1984, is not an American film, nor is it British, Canadian, or from any English-speaking nation. It is Polish. From 1945 to 1989, these guys had control over Poland. If there's one thing Polish people hate, it's communism. During the 1980s, the Soviet grip on Eastern European nations was weakening. The economy was suffering from inflation, a Pole was Pope, and the Solidarity movement was becoming even more powerful. The Solidarity movement was an anti-authoritarian social front that used methods of civil resistance to oppose the communist government. As a reaction, the communists in power made sure to suppress any sort of anti-communist ideology, including film. Throughout Sexmission, images of a totalitarian government are seen throughout. The lying of leaders to one another, subordinates, and the two men, the lack of a fair trial for Max and Albert due to their opposing beliefs, decadencies being put down, the cold and sterile environments free of any luxury including cigarettes and liquor, the hyperbolized food eaten is just sustenance, there is no flavor or moments of enjoyment. Ironic, though, that the higher-ups get delicacies like jam, just like the hypocritical politicians who promoted the idea of total and complete equality while enjoying ornate buildings, delicious foods, and fine clothes. Small details like the gorgeous women who take care of Max and Albert symbolize the comforts and tantalizing ideas of the benefits of communism, quickly revealing themselves to be dictatorial and intolerant of opposition. The League even isolates their same gender for knowing too much about the past and believing in returning to the old ways of life. Coincidence? I think not. The moment when Max breaks through the barrier into the world can be interpreted two ways. Lech Wałęsa, future president of Poland and leader of the Solidarity movement, jumping over the wall of the Gdańsk shipyard, the place where the Solidarity movement began, and the collapse of the Berlin Wall, an event that would happen 5 years later. In order to get past the censors, Juliusz Machulski had to lay a thick facade of dystopian science fiction to mask the underlying political criticism. And it worked. This film, despite censorship, became one of the most watched movies in the Soviet Union. I fully understand that without context or cultural background, this film may not be understood fully. When Sexmission premiered in the United States, the feminist movement panned the film, calling it misogynistic, woman-hating, and demanded that it be pulled from theaters. Max and Albert do not represent men. They represent those trying to break free of a communist rule. Lamia represents those born into a communist system, who believes in the government and repeats what they hear. When a person begins asking questions and looking for answers, they finally understand the truth. Julia represents the older generation, one that remembers a free nation and is suppressed from reminding others. Her Excellency represents the head of government, a person choosing to repeat lies instead of standing up for their morals and beliefs. The entire League represents the blind followers who do not think for themselves, but just obey. One character even says to Lamia, "You've been thinking a lot lately. A healthy organism lives and works. A sick one begins to second-guess itself." More importantly than the political message, this movie is really funny. Humorous moments that I've seen multiple times still bring me to laughter. Jerzy Stur and Olgier Łukasiewicz brilliantly portray their characters, two men different in mentality and temperament. Both men have strengths and weaknesses, aspects that help flesh them out to the audience. Max is adventurous and confident, though sometimes overconfident and full of himself. Albert is intelligent and cautious, though sometimes meek. Despite being very different men of different backgrounds, they are able to work together to escape their captors and live a wonderful life. Neat little message. I really cannot fault the script, direction, or acting. Polish cinema is not particularly known for science fiction, but Juliusz Machulski volleys this film back into the net of excellence. He would become renowned for his films ridiculing life in Poland during the 1970s and 80s. Sexmission, which has achieved cult status in Poland, would be one of his crowning works, and a movie still discussed by film enthusiasts to this day. This is without a doubt one of the finest pieces of political satire put to the silver screen, and a movie I would highly recommend to watch. Thank you for watching.